First question, explain what is meant by the term carbohydrate loading and give an example of a performer who may take part in this process. So for Mark 1, we need to say what carbohydrate loading is. And it's when an athlete or performer takes on lots of carbohydrates. If you put complex carbohydrates, even better, the day before an event. If you put 12 hours before or the night before, that's absolutely fine as well. If you put in the lead up to the event, that would be okay. And you may have given an example of a complex carbohydrate such as pasta or such as rice. For the second mark, we need to give an example of a performer who may take part in that process. It's always best to try and give the best example possible, which is a long distance athlete such as a marathon runner. If you put a long distance cyclist or swimmer, that's absolutely fine as well. If you put a games player, such as a netballer, a rugby player, footballer, it's a little bit more complex whether you get the mark or not. You probably have to explain that because games players need fast release of energy as well as a slow release of energy. So it gets a little bit complex. So it's always best to give a perfect example, which in this case is a marathon runner. Next question, Felix is a weightlifter. Discuss the type of food that Felix should take on 30 minutes before a competition to maximize his performance. It's a 3-mark question. So for the first mark, the food type a weightlifter should be taking on shortly before exercise, simple carbohydrates. And this is because weightlifting is an anaerobic activity. So that's our second mark. And therefore, for mark number 3, simple carbs, and you might give an example of fruit or chocolate or sweets, will give Felix a fast release of energy that will allow him to lift as heavy a weight as possible. And it's really important, that last line there, that we link to performance. So how are these simple carbohydrates going to relate to performance? They allow him to lift as heavy a weight as possible.